Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week for Courageous Conversations. This week's topic, we are going to touch on stuff we need to know, well, or maybe should know, that no one ever told us. Now, thanks to Paul Solsrud, that's our topic, and we tried to get him to pop in and give us a little cameo today and maybe tell us one or two things, but he's off, he's doing other things and staying busy. So thanks again for joining Jenna and I, and we'll get started. Jenna, what are some things that, stuff that we should know that maybe nobody ever told us?
Sure. So the last couple days here, I've been mulling over some things that I wish I knew or that I think I should know that nobody told me or that I've questioned, and I've actually found myself kind of laughing to myself about some of the epiphanies I've had. And I think I'm relatively new to the program here in terms of some other folks. But one of them that I think we all think about and we all, say or do, it's a very popular saying, is never assume. We use that in our day-to-day life. We use that in our industry as well, of course. But this was one for me that, never assume that somebody is right or that things are, going according to plan just because that's how they've always been. We can always look at things with a fresh set of eyes or a fresh start. And the other thing is never assume that somebody is right because of what their title is. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out and question the CEO every time he gets up in front of the group and speaks to everybody. But what I am saying is that if you don't understand or you're questioning the accuracy or whatever it might be, ask questions, ask clarifying questions for yourself, for maybe the buddy sitting next to you, and because somebody else might be wondering it as well. But just my point is, never assume that just because something is the way it is, that's how it should always be, or that kind of thing. On the other hand, another one that popped into my mind was, don't ever feel pressured to give a response or an answer if you don't know, because sometimes that is your answer. Sometimes the situation is such that there isn't one. You're in uncharted territory. If you're unsure of the rules or regulations or services or capabilities or whatever, don't ever feel forced to give an answer. I think, for one, people will respect you for saying, I don't know, I'm going to have to get back to you. For one, you're not a know-it-all, so that's cool. Secondly, I think they'll just respect you for not giving a quick and easy answer just to kind of get them away from you, which is just something that I've come to realize, that I don't need to always have the answers right at the forefront. I mean, of course, we all need to make sure we're up on our game, kind of a thing, but at the same time, nobody wants the wrong answer either. That could be even more detrimental.
Sorry, Jenna, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Not at all. I was going to say, it kind of coincides with what something that Shelly had mentioned too about trust.
Yes, so I'll go ahead and expand on that. Really, trust is your most valuable asset. So as Jenna said, if you stop and take that moment and not give an answer, maybe it's that as a leader, you need to listen more than you talk. That's one of the things that they don't always tell us, but I think it's very important as leaders. So when you're asked to give an answer, you may not have that answer. And again, that builds on that trusted relationship. And also as leaders, we don't always know the details of things. We aren't going to know the finite workings of every job that we oversee. We maybe just need to know if the work is getting done and if there's any challenges to getting it done. And again, that goes back to not always being able to give that answer right on the spot. And you have that out. You have that as a leader, as a person who's not in a leadership position to say, hey, you know what, I do need to get back to you on this one. I'm a fairly intelligent person, but I just don't know everything. So I need to do some research, and you don't have to expand on that, but really that's what you're thinking inside, because let's face it, at some point in time in your leadership role, just like in everybody else, Jenna, you've probably done it as well, you're going to feel unqualified for the job, but you're not. And so it's having those courageous conversations to be able to say, in this kind of fearful moment, I need to know more. And as well as kind of having courageous conversations, I'm going to piggyback on that, is that you will be having courageous conversations, and nobody probably shared that with you, or you are figuring it out or have figured it out by now. And most times the topics are going to be unknown until they come up, and they're going to pop up, and then you're going to go, oh. And a great word that everybody's been using here in 2020 is pivot. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to take what you're doing, and you're going to pivot on that, and you're going to either say, you know what, I'm not prepared to answer this question, or you are going to be prepared for having courageous conversations on different topics. Could be the tardiness, could be disrespect, motivation, conflict resolution, oversharing. Any of these topics sound familiar to you, Jenna?
Yes, we do. In fact, I may have watched it once or twice even. But yeah, I completely agree. Never sell yourself short. Never think just because this is the first time that you're doing something, or whatever it is that you're doing it wrong, or that you're slow or whatever, because you are probably slow the first couple times that you're doing it. I mean, everybody learns, but that's just a fact of life. I mean, we that's just normal with our kids. That's normal with our day-to-day, or our dogs, or our cats, or whatever, right? Everybody is learning as they go. And so people do have grace for those moments, but just never sell yourself short. Always, put your best foot forward in that respect.
So the other day, Jenna, you shared an email with me, and in the picture, and I'm sure some of you that are on Facebook and things like that have seen that picture circulated a little bit. It was a picture of a gentleman that was laying over a cliff, had his arms down, reaching, and was holding on to a woman with one arm, or maybe both arms, I don't remember. But anyway, on the side of the cliff, there was a hole, and a snake in the hole that was biting on the woman's arm. And in the meantime, there's this big boulder on the man's back, and it was crushing his back. So can you expand on a little bit on that, and how that relates to stuff we should know?
There's always more to the story, right? The man is hanging over the cliff like this, and he can't see that there's a hole basically underneath the cliff that he's laying on, right? And so the woman doesn't want to move very fast because she's afraid she's going to get bit by the snake. This man has a huge boulder on his back, and the woman, though, looking up, all she can see is the snake and the edge of the cliff and his arm, basically. She can't see what's on his back or what's on his plate, right? So not only is there always more to the story, but give each other grace. And I think in those moments of uncertainty or questioning or frustration, throw out the expectation and think about the appreciation part of it, because your expectation is completely different than anyone else's expectation. Just try to give grace and look for the good in every situation that you come across, and especially in 2020, right? There's so many hidden motivators, with people maybe running out of paid sick time, or they're worrying about their kids at school, or they're worrying about their parents that are, in a nursing home, or they're worried about just going to the grocery store and exposing themselves. They have a condition, whatever. I mean, I just think that there's always more to the story, and that not, sometimes I think we get so involved in our heads with blinders on in a way that we're just looking at things internally, and we need to take those blinders off and and realize that there is a different, you know, side of the story, and that not people aren't out to get us. You know, what, Shelly, whenever we do investigations, probably 90% of the time, it's like, are we even talking about the same situation here? Because when you interview people, it's, this is my side of the story, this is my side of the story, and somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? We say that a lot. There's three sides to the story.
Every story, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, just always try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, or look at it from a different perspective of your own. And I think if you have an open mind, people tend to want to work with you, or feel like it's easier to maybe work with you on some of those things too.
I couldn't agree more. And then, you know, there's one kind of final thing that I wanted to touch on before we went, and then if you had anything to add, please do so. But I wanted everybody to know too that as leaders, when we create other leaders, that's the greatest gift that we can give. And nobody tells us that when we get into a leadership position, that it's a cool thing to do. We sometimes get motivated by fear that somebody else is going to know more than us, or do better than us, and outshine us, and then we're going to be out of a job. And I don't really think that's the case. I think as we lift others up, give them the opportunities to grow, you know, watching them look good makes you look good as a leader. So remember that as well, that you're there also to create other leaders within your company in order to support you.
100% agree, Shelly. I think that's awesome. You just keep looking better and better if you have awesome people that are working with you, right?
Absolutely. Anything else, Jenna? Are we good?
I think we probably covered most everything here. Just want to say thank you all for joining us again today. Hopefully you all have a safe and happy Thanksgiving and happy holiday season at appropriate distances.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.